Good day, everyone. Welcome to the SR UK Dubai talk show. With me right now, I have Robin. He's the admissions director for Into London. First off, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's start off with the first question being, what is Into London? What is this institution? What programs are offered? What universities does it represent?
So Into London is a part of the Into umbrella, but we're a separate college from any university. Most of the Into centres offer direct pathway to one specific university. The centre in London is more a choice centre, so students will come to us and study either their foundation programme, an international year one, or pre-masters, and then they'll be supported throughout the year to make their application to any of the universities in the UK. And we have over 100 universities recognising our qualifications and accepting our students, including a couple of guaranteed offers when the students make their application, when they get their offers from us.
And what are the different subject areas offered?
So at the foundation level, we have the most on offer. We have roughly three broad areas. So we cover science and engineering, including a foundation in medicine and allied health professions. We have art and design, and then we have a broad foundation in business, finance, and social sciences. So that broader foundation covers a bit more choice for students, a few more things on offer if they're not quite sure what, or if they just want a bit more experience of different subject areas. We offer a level 4 international year one in business, and also the pre-masters program is in business administration.
All right, so how long are the programs usually, and what are the chances of progression?
So the program's all around about 9 months. We have 2 intakes for each of them. So there's a September intake that start at the end of September, finishing in June. And then we have a January start for those students that want to apply late, and they will finish at the end of August. The only program that doesn't have a January start is the medicine program, because for medicine, students will need to have completed their UCAS application much earlier, and you can't do it if you start in January. In terms of chances of progression, we do offer on the foundation and international year one and pre-masters some guaranteed progression routes, where students are given an offer with the University of Kent when they get their offer from Into London. It's not the only choice for the students, of course. As I mentioned, we've got over 100 affiliates, so students come to our programs and progress to a huge number of institutions all across the UK. As in over 100 that recognise the qualification, and we've got lots and lots of stories of all the students going, all over the place. It's highly dependent on the student background, and the only caveat to that is the medicine doesn't have any guaranteed progression route directly. We'll get on to talk about medicine in a while. Obviously, it's a very competitive field, although we do have some excellent guarantees there as well.
Right, so let's start off with the first area, the International Foundation in Medicine.
Okay, so it's International Foundation in Medicine and Health Professions. So this program is built upon the NCUK Foundation year, taking their science and engineering modules. We've added on top 2 additional modules that we've had validated that make it much more suitable for students who are going into medicine and other health professions. So there's a module in advanced science, which adds on additional, specifically human biology topics, so things like pathology and disease, some of the specific mechanisms around, certain parts of biology. So that's really so that the students are better prepared for the type of, subject that they're going to be studying at university. The second additional module is around skills building. So that's really around some of the communication skills. It's looking at the way that we learn medicine. So a lot of medical schools will use problem-based learning approach, whereby they're not taking, a sequential look at some topics. They're taking a scenario or a problem and then looking at all different aspects of it. So we're helping the students to be familiarized with that style of learning within this module. We're also giving them prep or support with how to communicate effectively, and that includes interview preparation. So if we talk a bit about the process of becoming a doctor and the medical student application, one aspect of it is going to be an interview stage. So students will be expecting, nobody's going to get an offer for medicine without going through an interview. Depending on the medical school, it will be a panel interview, a one-to-one interview, or what they call multiple mini interviews, which is where they have various stations and the students go from one to the next, answering questions. So we're doing some work within these modules to prepare the students for that process. So that's the medicine and allied health professions course as it is. With this program, I suppose something that's really impressive is that the students get a guaranteed interview when they sign up for the program. So it's actually quite hard. As you'll know, the medicine is probably one of the most competitive courses out there, and a lot of home students will, even if they meet the requirements on the grades, won't be offered even an interview. So to have a guaranteed interview is a real strength. And so we're doing what we can within the year that the students are studying to prepare them for those interviews, because it will be a different style.
All right. So anything specific, like requirements-wise, a student should have before applying to this program?
For this program, students will need to be top. So if we're talking GCSEs, they'll need to have 8 A's in GCSEs, and they'll need to get above certain criteria in specific subjects as well, including maths, biology, chemistry. So students will need to be well qualified. In terms of what they will need in order to be able to get through to medicine. So, as I said, this is quite a different program from many other foundation programs. If you're hoping to get into medical school, you'll need, on top of your qualification, which would be the course completion and the grades that they get, they'll need to go through the interview. So we're obviously helping with the students with that preparation. They will need to have a really strong personal statement, which evidences their sustained commitment to medicine. So medicine has a very high dropout rate, and all medical schools want to make sure that the student who is applying is going to stay on the course. So the way they're doing that is assessing their commitment over a long period of time to doing that. So one thing I would advise, if you're a student looking to do medicine, is to start doing things like work experience. And that's something that we will support students with doing. But they have to recognize that if you join our course in September, you'll be making your application by October. So you'll need to have had some experience, ideally before that. It's not the end of the world if they don't. We can support students to get some experience in the UK, but they should be thinking about that already before they're making their application. The final part would be the UCAT test, which is the clinical aptitude test. Again, students will need to take that very early on. By, I think the latest date is usually the end of the summer, and the students will need to prepare for that. So ideally, they're looking at doing that in the year running up to their foundation program. So a lot for students to do, but that's what we would expect from medical students, right?
That was very insightful. So let's move on to the engineering foundation program and sciences.
Yeah, so that's the NCUK International Foundation year that the students are taking. We're currently doing 2 streams. So we've got the science and the engineering stream. So the students who are doing sort of chemical engineering, that kind of thing, versus the physics, the engineering, perhaps the computer science. So those students are going on that one. Yeah.
All right. And let's go on to the business and social sciences. So can you briefly touch up on that?
So the foundation in business and finance and social sciences was previously a few different foundation courses that we've combined into one. Really, this is one aimed at students who, the way I see a foundation year is it's preparation for university study. So it's giving students a taste of different styles of learning and different subject areas that they probably want to go into. What we quite often find at this level is students may have an idea that they want to do accounting, or they may have an idea about doing social science or marketing. So we're giving them an introduction to these modules within this program so that they can then make their decision from a more informed place. So you get, within this program, there are a number of academic disciplines, and the students get a choice when they arrive as to which one of these they want to do. So some students may opt for maths, economics, business, marketing. Other students may opt for psychology, sociology, media, marketing. So they can pick whichever ones are really suited to what they want to do. And actually, one of the benefits is they get to try things out. So we would sometimes get students who think, I really want to do accounting. And when they take accounting, they think, actually, maybe I don't want to do accounting. And then they change their mind through the year. So that program is really a broader, choice for the students.
And coming to pre-masters, so what subject areas are offered for pre-masters?
So the pre-masters course is really directed for students who are probably transitioning towards business from a different field. That would be the ideal student. I mean, you can get students who have already got the background in business, but the pre-masters program is quite content heavy. It's a really good program. The students get very, very good preparation in all the fundamental areas of business. So they're studying modules in business and statistics, in accounting, marketing, human resource management, economics, and they're also doing an extended research project, a 5,000-word study of their own choice. So it really helps the students prepare for that postgraduate study, which is all about becoming independent as a learner. So postgraduate study is really about finding your own way and developing your own thoughts on a subject. And that's what we're sort of leading them towards on that pre-master's program.
Right. So what about the English language program? So how does Into help specifically with English language skills? So what do they focus on?
So if we talk about the foundation, one thing we do at Into London is we have different streams for different levels. So we do take students who have a relatively lower level of English, somewhere around 4.55 in IELTS. So they're really focusing on, in the first part, the broader language skills, lots of communication, lots of hours of study a week for improving their overall English level. And then they're moving on to sort of the more academic English modules. Students that are coming in with a higher level, 6 or 7, they'll do just one module of English that they'll do at the beginning. And then they will have the option of doing more academic content. So the students get to do what's more appropriate for their background. Within the English language modules, we're preparing the students for academic study, and typically the biggest challenge is in writing. So getting the students to write extensively is what there's a lot of time spent on that. Obviously, the other skills are all focused on too, but that tends to be the one that's the most challenging for students. And so quite a bit of time is devoted to developing that writing. And incorporated within that is all the academic skills around research, finding sources, synthesizing work, and developing their ability to reference, all of that stuff.
And is there a final exam as well for the English language preparation?
Yeah, so this will depend on the program, because we're running programs either validated, so they're our own programs that we have validated through the University of Gloucestershire, or it's the NCUK Foundation program. So the NCUK Foundation program follows their exams. The Gloucestershire version has 4 skills, all assessed separately. So there's an exam for the listening, exam for the reading, and they're doing presentations and also essays.
And let's get on to the student support. So a student is over there studying Into London. So what support is available for them, especially the international students who've never traveled to the UK, or is it their first time there, going over there? So what is there for them?
So for the students that are coming, obviously we're doing this. We've been doing this for years. We're coming up 10 years. That's our 10-year anniversary this year. So we've had a long experience of working with international students. We're still quite a small college. We're quite a niche provider. We have around this year sort of 200, 250 students. So we're able to, unlike a lot of larger institutions, we have quite close personal contact with the students. So we've got a good student services team that look after the students from a sort of holistic perspective, making sure they're in their accommodation all right, making sure they're registering with the doctors, looking after their sort of general needs around there. Each of the students will have a personal tutor, and the personal tutor will meet with the students one-to-one regularly. We've also got, I suppose, the support for the university applications. So unlike other places, our students are applying through UCAS to a range of universities. and we have a dedicated university and placement manager who is working one-to-one with each student, advising them on their application, helping them to work on their personal statements, helping them, advising them on their application, looking at their background, helping the student to work out what's an appropriate and ambitious institute for them to apply to, and making them, realistic choices. So that's a real great support that we have.
And lastly, what is the teaching style like? So the teachers or professors, I mean, what are the methods when it comes to teaching the students?
So, as I said before, we're quite a small institution, so we tend to have a mix of larger and smaller classes. So we'll do some, really, it depends on the subject area. So with the English language classes, there'll be smaller groups with, quite a lot of interactive activity with the students, very active in their learning. With the other classes, we've got a mix of lecture, seminar, or sort of more traditional classroom teaching. In each case, teachers are very proactive in getting the students to engage. So what we would hope the students do, and this probably will develop over time, is that the students engage in their learning, and that means they're asking the questions. They're encouraged to try and develop their confidence to ask questions, raise their hand when they're not sure, query the teacher. A lot of students from international backgrounds are a little bit afraid to challenge a teacher or to point out a little mistake, something like that. So we're really trying to foster an environment where students feel comfortable that they can make a mistake and it's okay, because ultimately that's how we learn. We learn by pushing ourselves, by testing our knowledge, not quite getting it right, and then revising that and getting forward. So we want to make an environment that's supportive for that, so that students feel comfortable and are able to grow in that space.
Right. And last, where is this into situated in London? So location-wise.
Yeah, so we're in Liverpool Street, which is fairly central in London. I think it's a great location in that there's, from where the centre is, if you go one way, you've got sort of Brick Lane, Shoreditch, which is quite sort of hip area. If you go slightly the other direction, you've got the city. So you've got some of the most iconic buildings in London. You've got the Scalpel, you've got the Gherkin, just a 5-minute walk from the centre that way. You carry on a bit further, you've got Threadneedle Street and the Bank of England. So it's all really nicely within walking distance, actually, although I know most students will not walk everywhere. And then you walk another 10 minutes that way and you're down to the river and you've got the Tower of London. So it's a really good central location, very easy access to all of London, really.
And what about the accommodation? So do you also help international students getting accommodation?
Yeah, we'll, within London, it's a slightly different study experience to a campus-based university or into centre, where we don't have the accommodation ourselves on the same site. It's not a live-learn type approach where you have the students everywhere there. If you are studying in London, you probably want to experience London. So we have a partner that we work with who will source appropriate accommodation for all budgets. Okay. So within London, there's a huge amount of student accommodation spread very near to the centre. So there's an accommodation block that's literally around the corner. Students can live there. There's one a little bit further afield, 10 minutes, 5 minutes walk. There's lots and lots of student accommodation. So we partner with an organisation who will advise the students and get their accommodation through there. We do have, I should say, under 18s accommodation where we have wardens who live on site, and therefore, we've got support for those under 18s, because that's a very special thing in the UK, that we look after those under 18s.
Perfect. Thank you for all the information. It was very detailed and I enjoyed the session.
Thank you
for being here.